right, one of Donald Trump's most loyal stooges might get sideswiped, might lose his Senate seat, and I want to break it all down. Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas, just debated Collin Allred, who is running for Cruz's Senate seat and who is currently representing Texas's 32nd district. And this debate got brutal. Collin Allred came prepared. There were multiple times where he pins Ted Cruz down on his trips to Cancun, on his enabling of Donald Trump and his riot at the Capitol, and Ted Cruz can't do anything but laugh. Awkwardly. We have a lot to break down and no time to waste with 21 days to go. Make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and let's jump in. Let's lay the groundwork with this article. It's labeled, Ted Cruz is hanging on by the skin of his teeth, Republican poll warns. The Texas senator gets more bad news as his race against Democratic challenger Collin Allred heats up. And keep in mind, this article was released before the debate today. Ted Cruz is hanging on by a thread in his Texas Senate race, according to internal polling from a GOP super PAC. That's how you know it's serious. A memo from the Senate Leadership Fund obtained by Politico shows serious trouble for Cruz and several other Republicans in competitive Senate races this November. Indeed, the majority of the candidates listed are losing their races, but Ted Cruz is still up slightly. Texas isn't quite blue yet, but it's basically purple. It is purple now. In his race against Democratic challenger Collin Allred, Cruz is up by only 1 point, according to the super PAC. There are other polls showing Ted Cruz up 3 points, 4 points, but that's not a lot. That's not a huge lead for a Republican in Texas, which should be safe, right? But Americans are rejecting the MAGA movement en masse. We saw a rejection in the 2018 midterms and the 2020 election. The 2022 midterms were brutal for every single MAGA candidate, and this could be the same due to their enabling of Donald Trump, even if it doesn't translate to VP Harris having a massive lead. I mean, for a while, even President Biden was down in the polls, while Democratic candidates were up. So my broad point is, MAGA candidates are being rejected. The Democratic former professional football player has run a noticeably different campaign from O'Rourke's in 2018, skipping surrogates and large barnstorms and opting for a more moderate approach. Despite running a more centrist campaign, Allred has been buoyed by Democrats' exceptional fundraising. In the third quarter, Allred raised $30 million to Ted Cruz's $21 million across 3 different fundraising accounts. We also have polls of Donald Trump maintaining a lead in Texas, but Kamala Harris narrows the gap amidst a surge in Democratic enthusiasm. Let me read that again. A surge in Democratic enthusiasm. This election is going to come down to turnout, and this is from the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas at Austin. This brings us on to the debate today. We'll break down more polling numbers, but I want to show you this clip of Collin Allred explaining perfectly how Ted Cruz is only for himself. Take a listen.
Collin Allred. I'm a 4th-generation Texan. I'm a husband and a father. I was raised here in Dallas by a single mom who was a public school teacher, and I've been shaped by every part of this state. My grandfather was a customs officer in Brownsville. That's where my mom and aunt were born and raised, where I spent a lot of my childhood. I was captain of the Baylor football team in Waco, trained for the NFL draft in Houston, and I've served my hometown in Dallas in Congress for the last 6 years. In that time, I've been the most bipartisan Texan in Congress. I'm the exact opposite of Senator Cruz, who's the most extreme senator in the United States Senate, maybe the most extreme in the last 30 years. But that's not enough. He's also only focused on himself. That's how you can go to Cancun when millions of Texans need you and hundreds are dying. The truth is, we don't have to be embarrassed by our senator. We can get a new one. That's what this election is all about. That's what I'm asking Texans to give me a chance to do.
Senator, you have
Collin Allred.
Collin Allred is a fantastic candidate. If anybody is in Texas or knows somebody from Texas, let me know in the comment section below. Let's use this community we've built to talk about a candidate that is on the ballot in November. Collin Allred needs to win his race, and these clips get better and better. Collin Allred then says, Ted Cruz just looked into the camera and lied to you guys.
Senator, that's your time. Congressman, 90 seconds for a response.
Well, listen, it's time to finally tell the truth here. Senator Cruz just looked into a camera and lied to Texans about my position. Let's be very clear. You should look into the camera and speak to Kate Cox, who's watching right now, and explain to her why you said that this law that you said is perfectly reasonable, why she was forced to leave her 2 children behind and flee our state to get the care that she needed. Or look into the camera and talk to Amanda Zarowski, who's watching right now, and explain to her why it's perfectly reasonable that because she had a complication in her pregnancy and was denied care so long that she may never be able to have children of her own. Or to the 26,000 Texas women who've been forced to give birth to their rapist child under this law that you called perfectly reasonable. It's not. This is not freedom. I trust Texas women to make their own health care decisions. You know, Allie and I have had two baby boys here in Dallas in the last 5 years. You're scared the entire time. You don't know what they're going to say. But I can't imagine if the doctor would come in, said there's a problem with the baby or a problem with Allie, but there's nothing I can do because Ted Cruz thinks he knows better. That's not who we are as Texans. When I'm in the United States Senate, we'll restore a woman's right to choose. We'll make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again. And we'll make these stories of seeing these horrific experiences going on all over our state something of the past. That's my commitment to Texans.
Again, Collin Allred is the real deal. You guys need to elect him in Texas. I can't even believe Ted Cruz has been around this long in the first place, but is it just me, or is he doing some weird smug smile throughout all of this, even while Collin Allred is going off on abortion and explaining these stories? This dude is doing a weird smile right at the moment. Listen to what Collin Allred is saying.
He's watching right now, and explain to her why you said that this law that you said is perfectly reasonable, why she was forced to leave her 2 children behind and flee our state to get the...
He's saying leave their 2 children behind, and Ted Cruz is over here just smirking. What an absolute weirdo. And think about it. This is the first election that Ted Cruz has been a part of in the post-Roe v. Wade era, after the Dobbs decision, and there could be serious repercussions in Texas. Even if the state doesn't go blue, he could be punished. There could be down-ballot consequences, especially if this debate can go viral, especially if these moments can go viral. Make sure you like this video. Now, Allred says, Cruz just called himself pro-life, but you're not. It's not pro-life to deny women care. I mean, he's hitting all of these points perfectly that we've wanted Democrats to hit for so long. Take a look at this clip.
Trying to deceive the voters of Texas.
I want to jump in here because I think it's too important.
We'll give you 60 seconds.
I want to be very clear to the people of Texas. I support the protections and the restrictions under Roe. But Senator Cruz just called himself pro-life. You're not. You're not pro-life. It's not pro-life to deny women care so long that they can't have children anymore. It's not pro-life to force a victim of rape to carry their rapist's baby. It's not pro-life that our maternal mortality rate has skyrocketed up by 56%. That's not pro-life, Senator. So to every Texas woman at home, and to every Texas family watching this, understand that when Ted Cruz says he's pro-life, he doesn't mean yours.
Collin Allred is absolutely cooking. He's doing great on stage. He is coming through. Here is when Collin Allred starts pressing him on January 6th. That is a topic. If you look right there, this is when it gets a little bit heated.
I took off my suit jacket, and I was prepared to defend the House floor from the mob. At the same time, after he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the architect of the attempt to overthrow that election, when that mob came, Senator Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. And that's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. I really don't. This election is his accountability. You cannot just be patriotic when your side wins. If for the first time in 250 years, this project of ours, this shared American project, that we did not have a peaceful transfer of power, the folks responsible have to be held accountable. That's why Liz Cheney has endorsed me, has got involved in this campaign, and is saying to Texans everywhere, do not put Ted Cruz back in a position of authority, because he's done it once, he'll do it again.
He is hitting all of these points so incredibly perfectly. His stage presence is amazing, and he is calling Ted Cruz out for aiding Donald Trump and disrupting the peaceful transfer of power. And I really like the moment where he says, Liz Cheney even endorsed me over Ted Cruz, which is absolutely perfect because, of course, we don't agree with Liz Cheney on a lot. Liz Cheney doesn't agree with Collin Allred on a lot, but they want to make sure that Ted Cruz loses his seat. We are very, very close. In this one, Allred attacks him on the border, on immigration, which is largely something the Democrats are viewed as weak on. So let's see how Collin Allred is able to flip that around and actually be strong on this issue.
Thank you for the question. This is personal for me. My family's from Brownsville. My grandfather was a customs officer there. He joined the Customs Department in 1939. That's where my mom and my aunt were born and raised, and where I spent a lot of my childhood. And I know that our border communities are real places where folks are trying to raise their families and get ahead. But time and again, Senator Cruz treats our border communities like he's going on some kind of a safari. He comes down, he puts on his outdoor clothes, he tries to look tough, and he goes back to Washington and does nothing to help. In fact, he does worse than nothing. When the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, $20 billion for border security, he said, we don't need a border bill. That's what he said. And listen, this is a pattern for him. He's never there for us when we need him. When the lights went out in the energy capital of the world, he went to Cancun. On January 6th, when a mob was storming the Capitol, he was hiding in a supply closet. And when the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, he took it down. We don't have to have a senator like this. Let me be very clear. I believe in physical barriers as part of a comprehensive strategy to secure the border. We had a bill for $20 billion for 1,000 new Border Patrol agents, for more immigration judges, more asylum officers to help us deal with the backlog. I wanted to make sure we passed that. When I'm in the Senate, we will. And we'll also fix our broken legal immigration system. Senator Cruz has had forever, and he's done nothing to solve this problem. Why would we believe that he will with 6 more years?
Again, Collin Allred is the real deal. He's absolutely killing it. And when it comes to the immigration issue, he describes perfectly how this is an issue that hits close to home, how he goes and visits the border and knows how to deal with these. And I love the contrast he draws between him and Ted Cruz. He paints Ted Cruz as an out-of-touch elite who puts on his safari outfit and goes and sees the border like it's some expedition and then flies back to his cozy apartment in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Collin Allred understands what's at stake for these families coming over because it hits close to home at him. I mean, he understands what is happening down at the border. And again, he's the real deal. Ted Cruz is focused on vacuous MAGA talking points. Collin Allred in this clip says, he talks tough, but he never actually shows up. Never actually shows up.
This is a pattern. He talks tough, but he never shows up. We have a phrase for this in Texas, all hat and no cattle. That's what Senator Cruz is. 6 more years of this? Come on. He's had 12 years to do it already. Give someone who actually will a chance.
I love that line right there because that's what MAGA always says about Democrats. Oh, Biden's been in the government for 48 years and he hasn't radically fixed everything. Kamala's been the VP for 4 years and she hasn't fixed any problems. But in this case, Ted Cruz has been a senator for 12 years and he's only made things worse for women in Texas, for everybody in Texas. I think Collin Allred is hitting these points perfectly. I'm obviously not a Texan. I grew up in Indiana. I go to school in Chicago now. But I will say, I feel like he's hitting all of the great Texas. Even when he uses that analogy about Ted Cruz being all hat and no cattle is perfectly Texan. And here is Collin Allred roasting Ted Cruz, talking about team sports and saying the only position you ever played was left out.
You have 60 seconds.
I mean, it's a lot. And I stand here as a proxy for millions of Texans who are sick and tired of this act. You know, when Ted Cruz starts talking about team sports, you got to watch out because the only position he ever played was left out. I'm not trying to be mean, Senator, but sit this one out, please.
This is borderline bullying at this point. He said the only position you ever played was left out, and there is a sadness in Ted Cruz's eyes. Look at, oh my God, I feel bad. He's like a sad gerbil in this video. Now, Collin Allred deservedly calls him out for January 6th.
Congressman, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Oh, that was really something. I have to say, you can't be for the mob on January 6th and for the officers. You can't, and it's not funny. Because you're a threat to democracy.
That was a serious call out right there. That's like getting scolded by your teacher. It's not funny. It's not funny. This is serious.
For the officers, you can't, and it's not funny. Because you're a threat to democracy.
He is. He genuinely is. And Cruz is incredibly arrogant with that smirk. I want to end this off by showing you guys how Fox News covered Donald Trump's disastrous Chicago Bloomberg forum today, where he rambled on about anything, everything but the economy. Laura Ingraham started this off with the chyron, Trump takes Bloomberg editor to school. This is beyond parody. It's like they're living in an alternate reality. Trump takes Bloomberg editor to school. Let's see what she had to say.
Now, how many politicians can step out on stage with no notes and lay out the intricacies of U.S. trade policy?
Someone said, I don't know how many politicians can, but I certainly know one who can't.
The Federal Reserve, interest rates, etc., with a hostile reporter. Now, I can count how many people can do that on like one hand.
Donald Trump is not one of them.
He went through Mr. Bloomberg with the British accent like a hot knife through butter. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
There's no soul in this. Look, she does not believe what she's saying. Just watch her face.
He went through Mr. Bloomberg with the British accent.
There's no emotion. There's no emotion there. One more clip.
Yeah, Ryan, this was something to behold. This is after the big buildup that Trump's unhinged. He played too much music at a rally. I mean, then he goes up there and he just stuns everybody.
He stunned everybody for sure, but not for the reason that you think. Let me know what you guys think about this. If you think Texas can go blue next election cycle, maybe 2032, when is it going to happen? Can Collin Allred win? It's an uphill battle, but it is possible. Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you leave a like, comment a blue heart. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.